It's rare when a film comes along that has a perfect ensemble cast. A half dozen guys from multiple generations plot together to pull off a bank heist, but it's a classic crooks as protagonists caper. This isn't Reservoir Dogs or Ocean's 11, not even The Italian Job. This is 1989's Disorganized Crime. Disney put their money behind this production with their Touchstone imprint producing the flick. They must have loved the script as there were no bankable stars in front of the camera. What struck me as I watched this for the first time in 25 years recently was the first actor credited. They went the alphabetical order route and listed Hoyt Axton at the top of the pyramid. I wouldn't put him down as a member of the core cast, though. He's hardly in the movie. Axton had some TV appearances prior to this role, and outside of a major part in 1979's Black Stallion, his biggest appearance was the lovable dad/failed inventor in 1984's classic Gremlins. He was mainly known as a songwriter in the 60s and 70s. The most prominent actor in this bunch would have been Corbin Bernsen. Just 1 week before the release of Disorganized Crime, Corbin played the role of America's third baseman Roger Dorn in the bona fide hit Major League. At this point in his career, he was in the middle of a successful run as one of the two main characters in TV's massively successful LA Law. Corbin played the role of Frank Salazar perfectly. Television legend Fred Gwynne played Max Green. He was also featured in Pet Sematary, which came out a week after Disorganized Crime. He'll always be known for his role in Car 54 Will Are You, and for playing America's dad, Herman Munster, on The Munsters. Ruben Blades got a lot of positive reviews for playing Carlos in this movie. He had a handful of credits playing roles in minor movies, but at this point in his career, he's primarily known as a musician. Lou Diamond Phillips was Ray. He was an up-and-comer, having recently been in Young Guns and starring as Richie Valens in La Bamba. William Russ is Nick. He had held down some small roles in several movies for about a dozen years and had consistent work in TV shows as well. He was a few years away from nailing down his role as America's dad in American History X, in Boy Meets World. Ed O'Neill was Detective George. He was just starting his movie career and was still a few years away from his breakout role as Dutch in the movie Dutch. He was also in the middle of a successful run as Al Bundy, America's dad on Married with Children. Rounding out this top-notch cast is the underappreciated Daniel Roebuck, who plays Detective Bill. He has had a varied career, most recently playing the role of Santa Claus in Terrifier 3. He's also been Jay Leno in the 1996 cable movie The Late Shift. Jim Kauf wrote and directed this film. He had recently written the hit film Stakeout, an action comedy. He would also write future hits Rush Hour and National Treasure. Disorganized Crime opened up to mostly negative reviews. It debuted against the comedy She's Out of Control, which had terrible reviews, and the comedy classic Say Anything, which had universal praise. Neither of these movies could dethrone the previous week's 1-2 punch of the aforementioned Major League and another comedy, The Dream Team. Disorganized Crime debuted at number 6 in the box office behind 4 comedies and the still strong Rainman in its 18th week of release. We open with an establishing crane shot revealing mountains in the background and a small town square. A bank featured prominently and a harmonica gives us a Western vibe. We are in a small town in the middle of nowhere, Montana. Frank Salazar walks into the bank, writing $500,000 on a withdrawal slip. In case he forgets or something, I don't know. He's helped by the teller, Wanda. While conducting his business, we see that he's actually casing the joint. Rack focus on the safe. He sends letters to pen pals Carlos and Nick, and gets busted leaving the post office by George and Bill all the way from Jersey. Another Western trope sees our heroes arrive in town via train. I guess it's been at least a week that's passed by because letters were sent first class, not overnight. We see that Ray is already asleep in a car. He's the young guy, car thief and wheelman. There's Nick, the asshole of the group, but he's a safecracker. Max is the old man, a steady, level-headed, explosive guy. And finally, Carlos, a sharp-looking heavy. He's the guy that's good with a gun. They ride together to the hideout. They don't know each other. They don't trust each other. They just have their reputations, and Frank is their common denominator. At least 60 miles of driving later, and they finally reach their hideout. Fearing a setup, nobody wants to check out the house. Ray, being the young guy, he draws the short straw, and he gives the all clear. Frank's stuff is in the house, but where could he be? Nick's gut tells him it's a bad sign, and they should all bail. Max says to give Frank a few more hours. Wait till morning, then decide. Carlos came a long way and he wants to find out what the job is. Ray agrees to hang out for the night, and Nick's pissed.
You should be proud to live in a democracy.
The only thing I'm proud of is that I'm not in jail.
Max is too old to go to jail. He's got to be careful, but he trusts Frank. He picked the group for a reason, and whatever the job is, it must be good. It's late. Time to go to sleep. They go through the typical keeping watch shift routine. They separate, and Nick hits the booze. They go night-night. The next morning, Bill and George have extradited Frank, and they're on their way to Jersey. The timing to all of this is confusing to me. There has to have been enough time for the letters to get to the East Coast and for the crew to arrive, just in time for Frank to get extradited. Frank, Bill, and George all have history, too.
Come on, Frank, admit it. Didn't you miss Newark? Not Newark, George. He didn't miss Newark. He missed us.
Meanwhile, back at the hideout, gunfire awakens the sleeping criminals. Note Nick with his bottle of Jack. They freak out. Carlos and Max go outside and try to figure out where it's all coming from. They run and find out it's just some kids shooting at bottles.
We went through all this for kids shooting at bottles.
Not exactly a bright idea for a Latino ex-con to scare a couple of white kids in Montana by shooting at their direction. Back at the hideout, Nick badgers Ray about how he knew this was going to happen, and he demands the car keys. Ray is insistent that they are not going to leave the others. Nick pulls a gun on Ray and demands the keys. He gives Ray the opportunity to leave with him, but Ray still will not leave the others. Nick takes Ray's gun and bolts.
Nick's taking the car! Shit! Oh!
Carlos gives chase like he's a superhero.
You chase him if you want. I'm too old to outrun a car.
Carlos keeps at it. He's persistent. Having slept much of the way, Nick gets lost and ends up at a locked gate. Son of a gun, Carlos might have a chance. Nick goes off-road. Ray is worried about what to do. They are miles away from anywhere with no car close enough to steal. Max rifles through Frank's things, see if he can figure out why Frank got them to come from across the country. Back in the car with George, Bill, and Frank, George asks why a big-time crook like Frank was in a pissant town in Montana.
All they got out here is blue skies and cow shit.
Frank says nothing. In fact, Frank may have fewer lines in this movie than Wanda. No worries, though. George and Bill got him. They need to pull over. George needs to leak his lizard. But first, they taunt Frank, saying his stepmother sold him out for $100. It's safe to say Carlos lost Nick in the car. Well, there's the car. George and the boys arrive at Angler's Roost to relieve themselves. George unlocks Frank's cuffs so he can take care of his business when...
Don't waste them making plans for a new life.
George is a dumbass, and now Frank's armed. Bill is outside filling up his gas tank. Yeah, it seems like they should have both gone in. Bill finishes his gas and heads inside. Frank escapes out the back. He hears someone screaming in the bathroom.
Oh, shit!
Frank finds some canoes and heads downriver. Bill wants to bring in a chopper, but George says no. If they can catch him themselves, nobody has to know about this. Cue the rapids. Frank was hoping for smooth waters. Carlos catches up to the car. It's seen better days. He chats it up with the tow truck driver. George and Bill are in a car 5 miles up the road, hoping to intercept Frank. They park just off a bridge. They plan to each take a different bank and work their way upriver till they find him. Frank wipes out. Carlos has had a rough day, too. He informs Max and Ray that Nick rolled the car a couple times and hit a tree. He was arrested for drunk driving and will be arraigned tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Max has figured out what the job is.
What are we gonna do? Rob it and then run away on foot?
There's $500,000 in the vault. Not sure how Frank knows this, but let's go with it. Max says they'll need another car, and they'll get Nick. They need Nick to crack the vault. For $125,000 each, sure, let's get Nick out of jail.
George! George! Hey, George, over here!
Bill finds the canoe. George tells him to follow the footprints, and Bill reminds George that Frank has his gun and he ain't going solo. Wait a minute. A minute ago he was fine going solo, but now he's not. Whatever. George is going to find a shallow part of the river, cross over, and help Bill look. Frank is getting away. George strips down. This is going to end well. The water's cold and the rocks are sharp. Uh-oh. George slips and is so worried about not losing his flashlight, he drops his pants, coat, and shoes. Now Bill is running after George's clothes. Meanwhile, back at the hideout, they leave a note for Frank as our trio heads out to town. They need to find a car to steal.
The only reason I'm going through with this is so I can kick Nick's ass after we get the money. Then I'm gonna run over him with the new car.
It's good to have a goal in life, chimes in Max. Bill has George's clothes and starts fishing them out with a stick, but there's a problem. His pants are not in the wad of clothes, and with his pants are his wallet, keys, and badge. Frank wanders through the woods. He hears noises that spook him. He takes off running and takes a nasty tumble. Max and the guys hike to the side of a road and catch a ride. They have to hop in the back of a truck hauling pigs.
Why don't we wait for a garbage truck? That way each one of us can have his own can.
Lovely. Better hold on tight. Bill wants to call in help, but George is stubborn and won't have it. Bill argues that they're Jersey boys. They can't handle the wilderness. George counters that they will look like idiots. Let's go to the car, change clothes, and go get Frank. After all, Frank's a Jersey guy too. Speaking of Frank, he awakens from his fall. It's the stuff of nightmares. Max, Carlos, and Ray are still making their way toward town when they come across that bridge. Ray spots George and Bill's car and yells for the driver to stop.
Stop the truck!
Oops. Frank's tired, cold, lost, and has a limp. He's desperate. Bill and George are tired, cold, and embarrassed. They are also desperate. Bill hears something. It's the sound of somebody trying to start a car. More specifically, it's the sound of somebody hotwiring their car. They run after it in vain as Ray, Max, and Carlos drive off. George tells Bill Frank doubled back and stole their car, obviously. Frank is still wandering in the woods. In fact, he comes across his own footprints. He's gone in a circle. Frustrated, he beats up a tree and lies down in a pile of dirt. Only it's not dirt. It's a giant anthill. Ray, Carlos, and Max have made it into town and purchased some new threads. Max goes to the courthouse to see what Nick's bail is. Ray and Carlos check out the bank. Bill and George arrive in town too, having hitched a ride. George looks sharp in a pair of overalls. They meet up with the sheriff to get an APB out on Frank. We finally see Hoyt Axton a little over halfway into the movie. George also asks for an APB on their stolen Chrysler. The sheriff sends out the APB, courtesy two stupid cops from Jersey. Ray and Carlos check out the bank, and Carlos flirts with Wanda.
Wanda. That's a pretty name.
Thank you.
He compliments her dress, and they split. Max is at Nick's bail hearing. We find out the car he took was stolen.
If you didn't steal it, who did?
Frank Salazar.
Oops. The judge informs Nick and Max that Frank was in their custody until yesterday morning. She does not yet know that Frank has escaped, which means Nick and Max don't know that either.
No, I didn't know that.
Bail has been set at $5,000. Max lets Ray and Carlos know what he's learned. Max tells them they're going to hit the bank tonight, and they need to bail Nick out. Between the three of them, they have $1,500. Now they just need another $3,500. Hoyt Axton sighting. Our Jersey detectives want to get back home when...
Sheriff, we have a robbery just happened at the shopping mall, 93. Description, male about 5'10", 140 pounds, wearing a nylon stocking over his head. Got into a white car.
Salazar.
Our trio commits a robbery so that they can bail out Nick. A robbery that will ultimately be pinned on Frank. While interviewing a victim, a call comes out for another robbery. They get the money to bail Nick out. Ray ditches the car and steals another. The Keystone cops have the house surrounded. They think they have cornered Frank, but Frank ain't there, is he? He's limping along in the wilderness. Back at the hideout, Nick's told he's been bailed out to help pull off the bank job. Nick's sarcasm gets on Max's nerves. They went through a lot of trouble because of Nick. He owes them. For what? I'm not sure. He still faces a trial. He's not out of trouble. That's not how bail works. Max explains the plan. Nick looks at pics of the vault.
I can cut into it in about 2 hours. If it's a newer safe, we're going to have to blow it. It's going to take a lot longer, and then I don't even know if I can get into the bitch.
Getting inside isn't a problem. Break into the place next door, going through the wall. Whole job should take about 4.5 hours, out by 6:30, before sunrise.
What about cops? We don't have much time. There's only one road in and out of this town. They can box us in pretty easy.
There's only 8 cop cars. Let's take them all out. Ray can easily take out a car by placing a little firecracker or a mini bomb in the right place. Max can build one, no problem. Put little timers on them. They go boom when you want them to. Job's tonight. These guys don't waste time. Bar across the street from the bank closes at 2. They got 8 hours. Ray steals another car so they can get away, quote, clean. Max builds bombs. Nick shows off his gear for this montage. Ray and Carlos paint their first stolen car. Carlos has a lot of guns. This is serious, guys. Real-looking bombs. A news broadcast explains that Frank got away from the terrible Jersey cops. As a witness put it,
when we first saw these two fellas from New Jersey, one of them, George, it was, he wasn't wearing any pants.
Yeah, they want Frank's head. But where do they start? They limp back to the police station and ask about any recent stolen car. There was one earlier, a lead. They leave to look for the stolen car. The robbers arrive at the bank in their freshly painted car. They unload Max and Nick's gear. Carlos and Ray take off to disable all the town's cop cars. Disable power and security? Check. Jimmy the lock on the realty business next door? Check. We're inside. Where's an obvious place to find cop cars? The sheriff's department, of course. Carlos parks between a few cars, and Ray is able to slickly get underneath and plant the devices. Carlos is keeping watch by pretending to send off letters. Glad to see the Postal Service getting lots of love in this movie. Our diligent detectives don't drop this case. They dream of discovering the car.
Car!
Delirious detectives don't distinguish dastardly delinquents defrauding denomination depository. Damn. They do return to the sheriff's department having failed. But George finds the car. He just doesn't know it. He's just feet away from Ray. Right year, right make, wrong color.
I doubt he'd park it in front of the police station.
Ray's thinking the same thing in that moment. George heads to the station. Max and Nick make their way into the bank through the wall. These guys are very skilled men of their trade. It's a little after 3 a.m. George has a deputy run the plate of the painted car out front of the station. It's a gut thing. Bill is dead tired. What's that on George's elbow? The plate doesn't belong to the make of the car out front.
Holy Jesus.
What? Your sleeve has white paint on it.
George doesn't get it.
He painted the car, George!
Time to crack the safe. Max works on the power. The vault's newer than Nick thought. It'll take about half an hour longer than he hoped. It'll be daylight by the time they finish, and the bombs will go off too early. Max is hopeful that he can cut his time down on his part of the job. He guarantees he can do it. Oh boy.
Well then, let's rob a bank.
It's almost 4, and Carlos and Ray haven't planted devices on all the cars. They need 3 more. If they don't find them, nothing else better go wrong. With half an hour left, they find the 6th car. Max did it. Power killed. No alarms. Let's hit the vault. Carlos tells Ray to forget about the last 2 cars. If they still have 2 cars, they can get boxed in, though. Number 7 pulls up next to them. Can Ray get it on time at the stoplight? Carlos has to distract the cops. Bank robbers love chatting up with cops during the act. He asks for directions to a friend's house. Whose house?
Wanda.
All right, you want to go up Main Street, take a right on 3rd, 2 blocks, second house on your right.
Of course they know where she lives, but come on. Carlos tied himself and his description to a bank employee, and he's on security video from earlier in the day. I know. So's Frank from a few days before. But anyway, time's running out. Carlos and Ray arrive at the bank. Carlos lets Max know they only got 7 out of 8 cars. George, trying to figure out why Frank would be in town, where would he be? Bill lets him know there's only 1 bank. Time to blow the vault. Hold on, guys. Car. Carlos sees the car pull around back of the bank. Bill and George find the stolen car. Ray spotted them and has that unused bomb. The dim-witted detective duo draws near deliberately. Ray is a freaking ninja and slides under the car undetected. Ray places the bomb in the cop's car, but he gets his glove stuck. George is over the moon. He believes he's got Frank. Ray just wants to get unstuck from the car. George is going to take off and fetch the sheriff. Bill is to stay put and watch out. George drives off, with Ray still attached. Ray heads back to the bank. Bill's snooping. Carlos is getting nervous. He goes out to check on the situation.
Don't move, Frank!
He thinks it's Frank. Ray descends from the heavens and takes Bill out. They drag Bill into the real estate office. Blow the vault! We gotta go now! George is at the station on the phone with the sheriff. Remember, this is pre-cell phones, folks. And I guess the radio wasn't an option. Somehow, dumbass George, with a shot reputation, convinced the sheriff to send the cavalry. Again. The vault doesn't open.
This happens. It happens.
There it goes. All the cops are heading to the bank. Move it, move it, move it! George really hates Frank. Guess he'll run to the bank. Max and the gang are still loading up, and it's daylight now. There they go. George is so damn close. He finds Bill. Hoyt Axton arrives in the only running clown car. How many cops can fit inside? Let's get Frank! He's getting away. The gang is happy. They're about to get away. Ray spots the 8th cop car. 6 clowns plus Hoyt Axton can fit into a clown car. They gotta get off the road. They're leading a trail a mile along. Nick says to drive through the pasture. They can get to the hideout through there. He knows from experience. They make it. Time to swap cars.
Shit! We lost them!
Crap. The cops run into that locked gate. Oh my gosh, they're gonna get away with it. And just after they drive off, Frank emerges. Several days in the wilderness, and finally he's made it to the hideout. Nobody's there. By this time, the police have the place surrounded. Frank's ready to nap on the nice, comfy couch. George is ecstatic. He's about to capture Frank again.
Frank Salazar, this is the law. The house is surrounded.
Salazar.
The robbers are broke down on the side of the road. Listening to the radio tells us that Frank was rearrested and is charged with robbing the bank, a convenience store, a department store, stealing 2 cars. They don't mention it, but I assume there's also 2 counts of assaulting a police officer, obstruction of justice, being a felon in possession of a weapon, yada, yada, yada. Bail has been set at $1 million. The guys don't think Frank will rat them out. Max says they got more than $1 million from the bank.
Oh, no. No, you're not thinking of bailing them out, are you?
I'm shocked that there would have been bail for that guy. While a fugitive, he's accused of all those crimes. But what do I know?
Pretty stupid, don't you think?
And the money from the bank has not been recovered. There would be some questions about where the $1 million came from to post bail. And again, he's not getting cleared of the crime. He's still facing years in prison. They catch a ride from a familiar face. And that's the flawed but enjoyable Disorganized Crime. There's a nice amount of laughs. They leaned a bit on slapstick, but that's okay. I think they held back a little bit on the comedy and could have inserted a few more gags. And maybe flesh out the heist a bit more. It's not perfect, but it's certainly fun and worth 90 minutes of your time. It's not available on any free streaming service right now as of this recording, but you can buy it for a few bucks on Amazon Prime or places like Fandango Movies. Give it a shot.